I'm Kabbani, and this is the Lighthouse for today's viewers. Welcome to our show. Today we have an interesting show. As I promised you, my viewers, last time we have in our show an expert with elderly people caring business. Today we have the whole show for this topic because this topic is very, very dear to my heart, and we need it as community. We need it badly. We need to know details about how to deal with our lovely elderly people around us. So please relax, maybe have a cup of coffee or tea or cold drink and have a seat and try to watch our show and benefit from the information what you will have from my guest. Before we start, I have a little story to tell you. My guest, Sharron L.Spotts, she is with me today, and I would like to welcome her on behalf of you. Welcome.
Thank
to
you.
Our show.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Before we start, I would like to tell you what happened with me last week. I was going to a restaurant on Sunrise, Olive Garden. Mm-hmm. And I was invited my friend for her birthday and my other friend from our studio, our friends, our family. So I was waiting and they didn't show up for a reason, missed communication. I sat for a while. Then I decided to serve myself, please myself. So I got the lunch. Everybody was asking, the gift is sitting there, and I was by myself. Did they show up? Did they? Okay. After I tried the food, it was delicious food, and my mind was away, but I was eating and trying to think with my mind away from where I am. And the waitress, lovely, smiley face, comes from time to time. How's everything? Do you need anything? Very great service. No, I'm okay. She bring this thing. So after all, I'm done. I asked about the check. She went there, and all of a sudden she came with this plate, put it in front of me, and she said, the manager said this is it. I look at her, I look at the plate, I didn't understand what's going on. So, what is it? Where is the check? She said, I don't know. The manager said, this is it. Thank you very much. Please read what is in the card.
My goodness. This says, it was my pleasure serving you today. And then handwritten, it says, thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure serving you, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon. Have a wonderful day. Signed, Samantha.
So I was shocked. What is it? Who is this? She says, the manager said. I said, call the manager, please. I need to know who is this. I didn't see him.
Yeah.
So he came, he shook hands. I look at him. I said, what do you mean? He says, it was our pleasure. Welcome to our restaurant. And I said, you know what? You made my day, but you made your day too. I will mention this in my TV show.
Yes.
And I will tell our viewers that we still have good people and good places to go and good service to please you wherever you go. So Olive Garden, lovely place, and I love it. And I thank him, and you can taste the chocolate over there.
Yes, I don't know about the viewers, but I think I'll make a trip to Olive Garden.
Olive Garden and Sharron. All Olive
Yes.
Gardens, actually, their service
Great
is good, but
service.
that
Wow.
place, wonderful.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll be able to give your viewers hope so it won't
Yes.
totally be sad. But I really appreciate you inviting me here
You're
to
welcome.
talk about
So,
the elder care journey.
Will you
It's a-
please introduce yourself the right way as specialist
Yes.
for my viewers?
I would love to. Thank you. My
You're
name,
welcome.
as you introduced me, is Sharron L.Spotts. My company is Roseville West Services Home Companions. This is a non-medical in-home care agency. We send caregivers into people's homes to help them live safely and independently. Most of my clientele are seniors. We do help developmentally disabled folks also, but primarily it's the seniors. And as I've been in this business and I've learned more about the aging process, I've begun to speak to the community because I see families who are unprepared for what is hitting them, usually in a crisis situation. Sometimes the need for care slips up slowly and you can see some of the signs, and we will talk about that in my presentation. But too many times there's a crisis that hits. I have 2 elderly parents that I'm taking care of. So I have learned firsthand, and then I've gone on to take many courses, do training, and of course, the real world experience. I have CNAs, which are certified nurses assistants, working for me in the company, so I learned from them also. But my story is, and that's part of one of my slides here in the presentation, but I'll kind of ease into this. I was born and raised in Sacramento, and I left when I was about 18 years old and spent most of my adult life in the Bay Area. I was in high tech, and I'm going to chuckle because my presentation is on an easel board, which is very low tech. But I find oftentimes that the seniors relate better to something like that.
Yes.
They don't really like the computer, they don't like the technology. They like what is familiar to them and simple for them to process.
Absolutely, I agree
yes.
with them. I am at that almost that age, but I call that technology my friendly enemy. I learn as what I need, but not familiar with everything.
Yes, yes. So I do have PowerPoint presentations also, but the easel board works very, very nicely. Getting back to my topic, I left, as I mentioned, went to the Bay Area, and I was a marketing and communications manager for high-tech companies. Well, about 2005, I realized my parents were starting to have a little bit of trouble. And my stepbrother had passed away the year before, and my sister has her own health problems, so that left me to take care of them. And I thought, I'm 3.5 hours away. If there's a crisis or an emergency, I'm not going to be able to get down there and do anything. So right then the housing market was still good. So I sold my home there and I moved to Roseville right in the nick of time. About 1.5 years later, my dad had a heart attack. The following week, Mom went into the hospital with a bleeding ulcer. She came home for a week, she was back in the hospital. Dad was let out, then he was back in the hospital. So back and forth for 6 months, they were in and out of the hospital. I learned about board and care homes. I learned about independent and assisted and skilled nursing facilities. I learned all about it. I learned all about the legal paperwork that you need. I learned about downsizing Mom's home and moving her in with me. It was a crash course in the elder care journey. And then as I progressed to acquire vast amounts of information, because I do try to be a resource to families in the community, and I have file drawers full of community resources, products and services, things to assist them in their journey. And as I was acquiring this information, I started to see a trend, and that's why my presentation is called The Elder Care Journey. Because it really is a journey. And I thought, oh my, there's a tsunami that's headed towards us. And I thought, well, gee, maybe I'm just being a little hysterical. And I was at a congress for the elders. It was sponsored by Comstock magazine, and it had very, very notable experts in the business. They had psychiatrists that dealt with seniors and their issues. They had gerontologists. They had other agencies such as mine, insurance experts for long-term insurance care, just a vast pool of resources. And I had, in the first 5 minutes, I heard 3 people talk about the tsunami that was headed towards us. And I said, oh, well, I'm not just being hysterical. Then other people are saying that there's a tsunami headed towards us also. So on that note, I decided to put together a presentation and go out into the community to help families and to educate them so they won't be hit with a crisis and wonder what to do. I want them to understand why it's important to know what's happening in our population, and then to know what the warning signs are for their own parents, and then what to do about it, and know what their options are.
You moved in the right time for your parents.
Yes.
And for all people around you.
I did.
And you did the major steps within short time. It was the right time, really.
Yes.
And the best what we can learn from experience in life, since you are dealing with your parents, you feel and you do the best for them. So you learn the best of the best.
Yes.
So really, that's why I insist to bring you again, because that short show wasn't enough to give what we need to give for our viewers. My story, I am in my 70s, and my kids, my older son and my older daughter in Sacramento. I used to live in Los Angeles for 23 years. They insist for 5 years to move me in just to be close to them, because I'm getting older. I didn't feel it at that time. I'm not old enough to, come close to my kids, because I am busy in Los Angeles and I have my business and things. But believe me, they did the best, and really I appreciate it. Even I lost all my connections and my friends and things, but family is family.
Yes.
Friends, because you don't find them when you need
exactly,
care,
exactly.
But you did wonderful for the family, and now we will learn from you more and more about what to do, and you will work us step by step to learn through your presentation after the break. So we hope that you are having good seat, and we will be back soon for the presentation.
Watching The Lighthouse for today's viewers, brought to you by oneworldforyou.org.
So let's start with our guest Sharron and your elder care journey presentation.
Okay, Nahed, are you ready to learn all about aging in place options for senior
Yes.
care? Okay. Well, we talked about my story a little bit already. 2005, I came back to Sacramento. My parents needed a little help, and here's Mom, and here's Dad. These are the reasons that I started this business. And I will tell you, if I only knew then what I know now, I would have been able to make other decisions, better decisions, and had a lot less stress in my life. And that's why I'm here to tell your viewers all about the journey. Okay, our senior population, I like to inform people about what is happening in our society right now. Currently, we have 12.4% of our population is over 65. Those people are projected to live another 30 to 35, even 40 years. And the over 65 population is going to double in the next 25 to 30 years. That means 1 in 5 Americans is going to be over 65. Do you know, historically, in all of civilization, this has never, ever happened before. Yeah. In fact, last week, the Sacramento Bee ran an article about why this is going to be a problem worldwide. The developed countries are not having as many children, and what's currently happening is there are not enough people to support the medical care for the elderly. and that's only going to increase. So there's a lot of shifts that are going to be happening in our society as our population is aging. And so what are some of the impacts on society? Well, as we mentioned, seniors are living longer. They're living 30 years on the average longer than they did at the beginning of the last century. There's a population imbalance. There's always been more women than men. Now it's 7-3, so a lot of women are going to be unhappy about that statistic. There's growing ethnic diversity. That's a good thing. But here's what the shocker is. Last year, federal spending, the entire budget, 43% of that was spent on elder care. 43%. Wow. I mean, that is huge, yes. So the impact, seniors have longer years in retirement. 62, 63 for retiring sounded like a great idea 50 years ago, but now, whew, you got people in retirement another 40 years. There are new patterns of family life, and I'm seeing a lot of that with my clients. Many times, the family member that is the caregiver is either moving in with their parent or loved one, or they're moving that loved one in with them. A lot of that is happening. Seniors are living differently than they did before. They're going into different types of facilities. They're migrating to senior communities. There's just a lot of new patterns of living that are coming about. And unfortunately, another offshoot of this is there's a lot more crime against seniors, especially telemarketing scams, identity theft scams, things of that nature, burglaries, but more of it is fraud. And unfortunately, a lot of that fraud is coming from family members. But wow. Yes, here's the showstopper though. Whoa, okay, the average cost of institutionalized care for seniors can range from $2,500 a month to $7,000 a month. Talk about impact to society and families. This is just absolutely huge. Who provides family caregiving? Well, right now, 25%, 1/4 of our population is currently caring for a loved one, someone over 65. That's a very high figure and really surprises a lot of people. But what doesn't surprise them is that 60% of those family caregivers are women. Mm-hmm. So it's a tremendous toll. It's the sandwich generation where oftentimes women who have prolonged having their own children have teenagers at home at the same time they're caring for elderly parents and they're working. It's very, very hard on them. And an estimated 88% of married people are caregiving for a spouse. They think they're going to go into golden retirement. They make plans to travel and do things, and one or the other comes down with Alzheimer's, comes down with a disease. And it's very sad to see them having that situation in their golden years. But here's another showstopper. There's a few points that I like the viewers to come away with if they remember nothing else. This is one of the items that I would like them to remember. 68% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for. 68%, yes. Wow. Yes, and that statistic comes from a number of sources. So it's just very important to plan and to have help. You cannot do caregiving by yourself. It does take a village. And I have my own village people that help me with my journey with my own parents. Why do family caregivers need help? Well, 9 out of 10 family caregivers, or 91%, are in poor health because of caregiving. They're so busy taking care of the other person, they neglect their dental appointments, their doctor's appointments, they're not exercising, they're not eating right, they're not getting any outside respite. Mm-hmm. And 8 out of 10 of them are reporting that caregiving is making their depression worse. If the camera can focus on this picture, I absolutely love it. It shows a daughter with her mother. You can see the love, you can see the tenderness, but you can also see the depression in her face. She is just worn out, and I see that all of the time. Approximately 62% of working family caregivers adjusted their work life. Many of them are reporting late to work. Mm-hmm. Some of them are giving up work entirely in order to take care of their family member. Mm-hmm. Nearly 1 in 5 caregivers provides more than 40 hours a week of care. Many of them have given up their social life entirely. You're looking at one of them right now. I've had a social life in years. And oftentimes, if they have children or spouses, that relationship is suffering too. So you can see there are significant things happening to families. A lot of stress on families right now. Approximately 37% of family caregivers spend more than 40 hours a week. Imagine that, more than a full-time job. And those folks usually are live-in. They're usually the ones that I told you about that have either moved into their parents' home or moved their parents into their home. And 30% are doing it part-time, 20 to 39 hours a week. And 39 hours is not really part-time. It's still a lot of hours.
Yeah, and hard job.
Yes.
Not an easy job.
It really is. And with many types of health issues with seniors, especially if you get into Alzheimer's and dementia, every day is a new normal. It's very stressful. They don't know what's going to be happening. There's night wandering. You can find your parent in the middle of the night wheeling down the hall with nothing on, and you're wondering, like, where are they going in the middle of the night, having stripped off all their clothing? It's the disease. Yes. So that's why it's so difficult for family caregivers. Every day is something new. They don't have the structure and the normalcy. But it's also can be a very blessed time.
Yes.
And I tell people, if you get help, then you can spend some quality time with your parent. That's the time to get out those old photographs, find out who all those people are, share all those old stories, enjoy that time that you have with them. One of the things I do want to talk a little bit about, Nahed, is level of care options for seniors. Many people have no idea what the difference between facilities are, and there's some new options that didn't exist 20 years ago. So we'll talk just a moment about that. Well, first of all, it's private residence. This is why our company came into existence, to help seniors stay in their own home with a level of independence and dignity. It has been proven people thrive when they're in their own home with their own things around them, with their memories. So we try to help them stay in their own home as long as they can. There are many more retirement home communities like the Del Webb Sun Cities, or Escatón has some new communities, senior communities, where they have help available, but people are still living independently. And speaking of independent living, there are many independent living centers where people enjoy a high degree of autonomy, yet they have their meals and housekeeping done. They don't have to maintain a house, and there's somebody in case something happens. Assisted living is the next step. That is where there is nursing staff available at the facility 24/7. And assisted living is where the memory care centers are for Alzheimer's and dementia patients. Now, here is a new concept. It's called residential board and care homes, or you'll hear it RCFE. What this is a private home, and usually it's a husband and wife team. They decide that they want to provide a care center, and there's usually 6 people in that. So it's a very homey environment. And it's a nice way that seniors can have full care and not have to be in the more sterile or the nursing homes that are less personal, and they don't get quite as much personal care there. And then, of course, there's skilled nursing facilities and hospice. Hospice is another new concept that's come about in the last 40, 50 years, where attention is given to supporting families and those who have been diagnosed with a terminal disease. And it's just wonderful. People can oftentimes remain in their homes, or they can go to a facility where there's a lot of really tender care. People get counseling and just a lot of TLC. One of my first clients was on hospice, and she was able to pass away in her own home, and it was just lovely. She'd always be able to have her family around, and she was still actually going out to lunch up into her last week. But there's just a very high level of support there with the hospice. We're going to talk for a moment now that you've heard about all of this, and if you have a senior loved one, you're probably thinking, gee, how do I know if they need that little bit extra help? And this is where I had my education, we should say. As I said in my earlier slide, if I only knew then what I know now, things would be a lot different. There's a few different ways that caregiving needs come to the surface, come to light. It happens in many ways. Usually it's a sudden crisis or hospitalization. It's a heart attack. Someone has a fall, a stroke. Or it can be just a series of small mishaps and red flags. And that's even more insidious because you don't often know what's happening. And you're just seeing some strange things, but you're not putting it together. So let's look at some of the warning signs. Here's some of the warning signs that you can pay attention to know if your loved one needs help. One of the top problems that seniors have is falls or accidents. So if they're having a series of that, please get them to the doctor right away and have a checkup. If they're having difficulty walking and getting up, that's a sign. Medication errors is a really huge one. If your loved one is having problems taking the medication, filling the medication boxes, you really need to get them some assistance. They can have other problems from that, falls, heart problems, strokes. If they're forgetting their doctor's appointments, that's something to pay attention to. And poor grooming and personal hygiene, especially if you have somebody that has always paid particular attention to that, and now you notice that there's food on their clothing, that their hair isn't washed. There's something going on, and they need to have you assist them and get them to the doctor or find out what's happening with them. This is a big one, driving accidents or near misses. Yes, if you notice that your mom is coming home with the rear view mirror or the side mirror missing on the car, or there's a couple new dents in the mailbox or tire tracks in the front yard, talk to the doctor, and the doctor will prescribe that they go and have their license reviewed and checked, and then you can talk to the DMV official and have a little conspiracy that they don't pass. It's not only a danger to themselves, but to others. This is very serious. Unopened mail. We had one client that her sister went over and the electricity was turned off. They have past due bills, get in there and find a way to help them. And if their personality is really changing and they're having sudden mood swings, they could have a tumor, they could have blood pressure problems, any number of things. Forgetfulness, confusion, can be dementia, could be medication errors, could be a urinary tract infection, believe it or not. That causes some dementia, and it will clear up when the urinary tract infection is cleared up. Lack of energy, and if they're unable to react to danger, oh my, that is a huge sign. If they do not understand they're leaving the stove on, they do not understand that those cords around the house causing them to trip, you have to step in there. They have difficulty communicating. If you notice laundry stacking up, the house is cluttered and unkempt, home maintenance isn't getting attended, you open the refrigerator, it looks like a lab, there's expired food, or here's a big one, there's not enough nourishing food in the house or in the cupboards. And if they're eating a lot of processed food and not eating healthy meals, these are all signs that they're in decline and something's happening. If they have inappropriate behavior or clothing or speech, it could be dementia, early onset Alzheimer's, or if they're hoarding things, stacks of magazines and food. Many of these things are signs that, again, early dementia, Alzheimer's, or something neurological, an infection, get them to the doctor right away and have them checked out.
So I guess there is a lot to talk about.
Yes, there certainly is.
What if we take a break, then you come back for more details for our viewers?
Sounds great. Thank you.
So we will be back soon.
OneWorldForYou.org, promoting cultural understanding through the media.
So there is a lot of information we learn about it, and it seems like we might panic when we see something. But let's continue with Sharron and know what to do when they need help.
Thank you, Nahed. Yes, what do you do? Now that you've established they need help, you've recognized the warning signs, what do we do next? Well, make an appointment with the doctor's primary care physician. That's number one. Discuss if they have any physical things going on. Number two, get to an elder care law attorney and ensure that you have a long-term care plan in place. You may need to talk with your insurance agent. If you do have medical insurance, there may be long-term care in that. You can have that reviewed. Talk to a Medi-Cal, Medicare expert. Start thinking ahead. Review the living situation. Find out if it's safe. There are senior organizer specialists that will go through a senior's home and make sure that not only is it safe, yes, but rearrange it, bring things down on the shelves, but organize, yes, clear things out. Oftentimes, if a senior has to go into a medical care facility, they have an accident or an injury, the discharge planner won't let them come home if the home is not safe. They will go out to the home and make an assessment. So you want to kind of clean things up, yeah, make sure it's safe. And then you want to find out how your senior can pay for the care. Again, as we talked about, so many people are outliving their planning resources. They plan to be 75, 80, 85 years old, and now they're easily living 95 and up to 100. I would say probably 70 to 80% of my clients are in their 90s right now. Yeah. So the next thing to do when you find that they need help, you're going to review and prepare the estate plan. That includes a will or possibly a trust. And these are very important things to remember. Viewers, please make sure that you have a power of attorney for your loved one. And it needs to be a durable power of attorney. You need to have that both for financial and medical assistance. That's the first thing that the hospital or a doctor or a facility is going to ask for. And make sure there's an advanced medical health care directive in place, and that's going to tell your loved ones and the medical community what to do if you have a terminal illness or something major. If you want life support, if you don't, that's what this is all about. The important thing to remember is don't wait. Don't be in my situation where all of a sudden you have crisis, there's no paperwork in place, you're trying to find your parents' documents, you have no idea where they are, but the hospital won't admit them without financial proof, and oh my, we could just go on and on talking about that. Don't wait. Plan ahead. Early planning makes it a lot easier when and if a crisis hits. And as we age, there is going to be something at some time. So prior planning makes all of the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, now, did you want to cut here? Because this section can go. Okay, we're going to go. Okay.
Sure.
So what is one of the other options? We talked about in-home companion care. This is a helping hand at home so people can live home safely, but it is affordable care. It helps give families peace of mind and respite. It allows independence. People can live like they did before, but with just a little bit of extra help. Who receives the services? Elder citizens, physically challenged adults, memory impaired, people that are homebound or isolated, someone that's had an accident or an injury, they're going through rehabilitation, or family members who just need respite. We had one family member call us in for service, and when we would come on shift, that person would just go into the bedroom and sleep for about 4 to 6 hours because he was worn out. Yes. So what are the services? They're personalized care plans for companionship, for individual care, and memory care. And we help people with what they call the ADLs, or the activities of daily living. Little bit of help with dressing, bathing, light housekeeping, meal preparation. Just that little bit of extra so they can live at home, but they don't need that full service of skilled nursing or assisted living. And it's private, one-on-one, non-medical care. And a good agency is not only going to provide the skilled service, but they're going to provide people that have heart, that care, that provide companionship. They become members of the family. And what I find fun is that oftentimes the seniors will trust you with information they're not going to talk to their family member about. One of my first clients told me, she said, Sharron, I just can't tell my daughters, but you know, I've had a long, really good life. I've traveled, I had a great husband, good kids, but my body's worn out. I'm ready now. But I can't tell my girls, they're not ready. She was just very happy to have me to confide to. So companionship is very, very important. What are the services? Well, services are personal care and grooming. As we talked about activities of daily living, we can help with business matters, help them get their bills lined up and paid. Recreation, companionship, escorted activities to community centers, to the doctor. Light housekeeping, and again, meal preparation, planning, cleaning out those cabinets, making sure there's good food there. The benefits are the independence, the reduced risk of falling. 80% of seniors have falls, and once they have a fall, they're not the same after that, unfortunately. And it improves their quality of life. It lessens depression. If they've had an injury and illness, they have faster recovery than they do if they're languishing in a hospital or skilled nursing. And not to say they get very, very good care in skilled nursing, but it's just something different when you're home. It's a lot easier to recover faster. And again, sincere, compassionate care. People can just start enjoying the things that they like to do before they got sick or before, you know, the progression of age. So there's just a lot of benefits for clients when they have that TLC at home. So they are also provided, believe it or not, we will go into assisted living or independent facilities. We do supply concierge services at an independent living facility in Roseville. Clients there don't like to think they need help. They don't want to have a nurse or a caregiver, but they've been world travelers. They know what a concierge is, so they respond to having concierge services. They feel kind of good about having their own private concierge. So we can go into skilled nursing, hospice situations, hospitals, or even board and care facilities. Who needs home care? The aging population, physically challenged, developmentally disabled, again, recovering from illness, or if someone's isolated and lonely and depressed. There are so many people. Eschaton actually is reaching out with their Live Well at Home program to try to reach people that are isolated and let them know that there is this kind of service, so they won't have that downward spiral of poor nutrition, lack of exercise, which leads to depression, which leads to poor nutrition, lack of exercise. So, and again, for families that need respite, this is a huge offering for them. This slide is just something that I give as a handout. It was an article in the Sacramento Bee talking about the growth trends in senior home care and different types of home care. It costs about $3,500 a month to stay at a typical assisted living community. A nursing home can be from $5,000 a month on. That is a low ball, trust me. But the number of residents over 65 in Placer County alone has jumped more than 80%. 80% since 2000. So it's just huge in this area. And this is a chart that financial analysts and engineers like. It shows the industry growth trends. What is the only industry that's really zooming up there? Medical care and social services for our seniors. So it's a huge trend. And what is the significance of in-home care? Again, it's affordable care because costs of institutionalized care, a residential board and care, that's a 6-person home, is between $1,800 and $2,500 a month. That's kind of affordable. You get to assisted living, it's $1,900 to $7,000.
Wow.
That's huge, isn't it? And trust me, it can go higher. It can go higher. Usually the $7,000 is when there's a high level of memory care, Alzheimer's or dementia. But there are, you know, the swankier places can go easily up to $10,000. My dad, unfortunately, he was given 6 months to live after his heart attack. So he's in skilled nursing, and he's fooled him. He's still with us, but that's why he's in skilled nursing. He's totally incontinent, cannot get up by himself. He's in a semi-private room, and it's $6,000 a month. That's skilled nursing, yes. So I know these are very realistic figures. Independent living is $2,500 to $4,600 a month, and again, we just talked about skilled nursing, $4,000 to $7,000. Think how fast that's going to deplete your savings, your income.
Where the money come from? How they will manage
Exactly.
this kind of economy.
Exactly.
It's really unbelievable, you know.
You need to have a good financial planner, and what oftentimes they do is they shift things into trust, right? Trust or whatnot. They can review your long-term insurance policy. I do not work with long-term insurance specialists, so I don't get kickbacks for saying this, but I'm going to make a recommendation to every viewer out there: get long-term medical insurance. And sometimes
It's
even
a killer.
exactly,
Where does the money come from?
it's the
They
best.
have to have something for
Exactly,
their
it is the
future.
best. The best. I had one client that his wife had Alzheimer's, and the long-term medical insurance policy covered everything, even the landscaper and the housekeeper. And I am telling you, you know, that was the best investment he ever made. And some of these companies can even still qualify people in their 70s and 80s if they're healthy. Yes, the premiums are high, but guess what? It's a lot better than paying this. You know, and every family member that is, you know, say in their 50s and 60s.
With the Medicare also?
Medicare covers, and I'm not an expert in that. I do have resources who are expert, but they more cover the drugs and some types of care. Medi-Cal covers most of the care and skilled nursing. There's veterans assistance that's available.
So they have to buy another insurance to cover things like this?
No, people can get veterans assistance if they're a vet or a widow of a vet.
Yeah. What about regular people, not veteran?
No, you're up a creek. If you don't have long-term medical care, or when you hit a certain plateau, if you have no assets, and you can go to skilled nursing, and Medi-Cal will cover it. Medi-Cal does not cover assisted living or independent living.
With the economy now, with the budget cut and things, I don't think they have the ability to spend money on people like before.
They're cutting it.
Yes.
You're right, they're cutting it. And this is why I'm out here talking to people, because I am seeing people live longer, and I am seeing even many people my own age get laid off just before retirement, and they're burning through their 401k because they can't find jobs. What's going to happen to them when they're 70 and 80? Who's going to pay for the care? It really is. That's why when I say there's a tsunami coming, there really, really is. It's scary. It just really is scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people who plan to hit.
Those things comes all of a sudden sometimes.
They do. They do.
If you don't plan, you cannot manage.
Exactly. And the average cost of care is $75,000 a year. When you get into the facilities or need, you know, home care again is the least expensive, but it is just not cheap. No matter how you cut the cookie, you know, it's just going to be expensive. You're right, where is the money going to come from? It just wasn't the planning in society. Social Security fund has been robbed to being spent on different things, and the latest figure that I heard was it was going to be bankrupt in 2017. And of course, I'm sure the general population isn't going to let that happen. Nevertheless, who are they going to rob to put the funds back into Social Security? I mean, we certainly can't let people just lay on the street and die, but what are we going to do to take care of them?
Yeah, and the whole family will suffer through that. One person or two persons in the family take all the energy and money.
Yes, so
because
kids' college funds is going to go.
One,
exactly.
without care, you know.
Exactly.
You have to take care of him.
Exactly.
It's hard.
You have to find a way. Yeah. So really, I think families are going to start pulling together, and maybe we can learn from other cultures that are more family oriented, that that take care of each other,
Yes.
because it's going to have to really fall back on the families
Yeah, we have to
to
think about
take
the,
care.
the bad before the good. The good,
Yes,
you accept it easily, but when something happened all of a sudden, especially falling down. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
in their 70, the minute they
Yeah.
fall down, they didn't stand up again the right way.
Exactly.
And they need help. And it is absolutely costly.
It is, isn't
And
it?
hard
Yeah.
feeling also, not just costly, you know.
Yes, they get
Take
scared.
all your energy and
Yes.
effort and thing, but you cannot throw your parents away.
No, no. And it is a blessing. It
Yes,
is.
it's
I've
that
learned
has
more
to
about
do
my
in
parents.
religion side also.
Yes,
You
well,
will not throw your parents away.
exactly.
Somebody will
Well,
pray
that's
you.
where I come from.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's where I come. That's my driving force. But I do know, when you bless others, you're blessed back. And I've learned more about my parents and their childhood and why the way they are the way they are, and the wonderful stories.
time,
Yes, the
yes.
Depression, the Second World War. This is living
Yeah.
history,
Yes.
So it's wonderful to be able to take care of them.
That's wonderful.
Yes. So this was an article that kind of addresses what you and I have just been talking about health care. We're going to lose it. How are we going to pay for funding? These articles are available. If anybody's interested, they're certainly welcome to
Do you have
call
website?
me. Pardon me?
Do you have website?
Oh, yes, it's www.rosevillewest.com. My last slide has my contact information, and I'll let your camera people focus on that, because I spend a lot of my time just offering resources to people, plugging them into products, services, things that can
that's
help them.
wonderful.
And yes,
So we'll keep it for next,
yes. So if anybody wants these articles or more information, they can contact me at any time. So I'm just going to very quickly summarize that. Again, the population over 85 will grow another 40% by 2020. That's pretty scary. And the elderly in Placer County is the fastest growing segment of the population, and many elderly, as we talked about, because of the cost, can't afford institutionalized care. They do better in their homes, but reliable home care for seniors is a huge need. What's happening is, because the senior population is growing so fast and people are limiting the number of children that they have, there's not enough younger people to take care of the older people.
Wow.
Whoa, there's going to be a huge hole there. So our goal for the seniors, we like to provide people with sincere, compassionate care. A good agency, again, is going to really look to the interests of their clients. And one of the things I've really enjoyed about going into the elder care and health field is there are so many wonderful people, from the facilities to insurance people to just all kinds of wonderful people who really have the heart for the seniors and
that's
look to
what
their
we need.
care. And I love to align with them, and that's why I say I know products and resources in the community to really take care of our seniors. And I had a real concern when Mom and Dad were in and out of the hospital, and I saw different things, and I thought, what about people that don't have anybody to champion for them? They just need our help. They really, really do need our help. So again, if you want to focus on this slide, my contact information is here, and I do welcome any calls. If I can help any family in any way through this journey, plug them into somebody else who can help them, that's my goal. That makes my day. And I can make one family have a little bit of relief and a little bit happier. So thank you very much for inviting me and letting me get my message out to people.
We need it badly.
Oh,
really.
good. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
So we got a lot of information, and actually it's worth it to have this show, especially for this kind of topic, actually. Maybe we'll talk about more details after the break. We'll be back soon. So we have a lot of information. We need it badly, and as Sharon said, whoever like to have more information, you can contact her, and she has source of information. We need it badly, actually. She brought a memory for me when I took care of my mother at the end of her road. And as she mentioned, ethnicity and cultural things, we learn from each other also how to take care of elderly people better way and simple way and maybe less costly way, because it will hit us hard if we didn't pay attention to what we have now, especially with the economy and budget cut and things. The whole health insurance and health service will be slowed down or cut off also, as any other thing in our life and society. But on behalf of my viewers, I would like to thank you, Sharron, for this information and for this value show, actually.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very, very much. And on behalf of you, and I would like to thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.